Hey guys, everything doing this on here. I get a lot of comments about all my videos, of course. Some are more controversial than others, notwithstanding things like the Nomadic Fanatic posts and videos. Lots of interest in those, and also my evolution creation ones. And I've been getting some commenters, and honestly, it's getting a little. It's a lot of work to kind of keep up the comments. And so, only a few people see the comments on the older videos. So what I would thought I would do is I thought I would take a page out of the book of Kent Hovind and actually do video responses to some of the conversation that's happening and some of the bigger questions that atheists and those who don't believe in creation are asking. And one of the questions was by one guy on YouTube on this video about the scientific paper that says the hand was designed by a creator, and he has a question. Let's see. He asked the question, what is the scientific definition of a kind? And so I want to answer him, one great resource is Answers in Genesis. Now, if you're atheist, you'll probably be biased towards any Christian source as just being automatically incorrect, which would be absolutely bizarre logic. There's no source that you can just completely write off without even reading it as incorrect or something like that. That would wouldn't that be like bigotry or something if you did the same to a person? So what are the kinds in Genesis? And this is from answersingenesis.org. What is a kind? The first thing that needs to be addressed is what is a kind. Often people are confused into thinking that a species is a kind. But this isn't necessarily so. A species is a man-made term, and you can put your faith in man if you want, but man is fallible. So if you're putting your faith in the word species, that man made for science, then you may not be on solid ground. And by that same logic, why can't man also make another term called kinds and then define it as man would like? And why can't that be an equally valid word and definition? And I don't think you can argue that it can't be. A species is a man-made term used in modern classification system, and frankly, the word species is difficult to define. So, this Anders, I think it was his name, would even have a hard time trying to define species, although he would probably just fall back and say, well, science defines species. Whether one and frankly, the word species is difficult to define whether one is a creationist or not. There is more on this word and its definition in relation to kinds later in the chapter. The Bible uses the term kind. The Bible's first use of the word, Hebrew min, is found in Genesis 1, when God creates plants and animals according to their kinds. It is used again in chapter 6 and 8 when God instructs Noah to take 2 of every kind of land-dwelling, air-breathing animal onto the ark, and also in God's command for the animals to reproduce after the flood. A plain reading of the text infers that plants and animals were created to reproduce within the boundaries of their kind. Evidence to support this concept is clearly seen, or rather not seen, in our world today, as there are no reports of dats, a dog plus a cat. So they're making a new kind up, if that were possible. Or a house made up of a horse or a cow. They're being a little facetious there. So a good rule of thumb is that if 2 things can breed together, then they are of the same created kind. It is a bit more complicated than this, but for the time being, this quick measure of kind, that's a quick measure of a kind. And they do show some dog variations. So you look at the dog kind, and there's lots of dogs in the dog kind. You got the deerhound, which is a big dog, and the lion dog, and the Dalmatian, and you get the Belgian sheepdog and the pug and the pointer, but they're all dogs, and anybody who looks at them would say, well, that looks like a dog, and so that would be a dog kind. And then you look at chickens, and there's lots of different kinds of chickens. The phoenix, the seabright, the cocken, the modern game, I can't even pronounce that one, the crayon cope, but they're all chickens. You know, they're all of the chicken kind of animal. Chickens don't breed with dogs to make some other kind of animal. So they're all the same kind. In today's culture, where evolution of millions of years are taught as fact, many people have been led to believe that animals and plants that are classed as specific species have been like this for tens of thousands of years, and perhaps millions of years. So when they see things like lions or zebras, they think they have been like this for an extremely long time. From a biblical perspective, though, land animals like wolves, zebras, sheep, lions, and so on have at least two ancestors that lived on Noah's Ark only about 4,300 years ago. These animals have undergone many changes since that time, but dogs are still part of the dog kind, cats are still part of the cat kind, and so on. God placed variety within the original kinds, and other variation has occurred since the fall due to genetic alterations, and that means loss of information in the gene code. Evolution requires an increase in information in the gene code. So I hope that clarifies what kind means, and I don't think you can discount the definition of kind versus species, which is another man-made scientific term, but there's no logic to suggest that the word kind cannot be called scientific either. There's no logic why you wouldn't be able to call it that if species is considered a scientific term. If you want to consider that a scientist created the word and defined it, well then there are creation scientists. There are many scientists, great scientists, brilliant scientists, PhD scientists who believe in biblical creation, and there's no conflict there at all. So I wanted to do a quick video on what kind meant because the question's out there, and I hope that explains it. Please check out Answers in Genesis. I'll copy this link and put it in the description down at the bottom so that you can go check it out and see the definition for kind as the Bible defines it, basically. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.